Hey, Meeple people, and today I just wanted to hit on some conventions I've been to recently. So, been to Gen Con and I've been to S'mores and Meeples, and it's been a really interesting experience, especially getting back from a pandemic mindset to a hey, conventions are starting back up again mindset, which is a very interesting shift, and just want to talk to you all about it. So first, while going back to conventions was a little uneasy, it was several positive things going there. Seeing people I haven't seen in a while, interacting, getting back to the convention feel. I go to conventions to help out publishers, companies, and this was the first year of actually going for myself for Meeples on the Ground. Well, partially. I got some days when some time out of the day to go and be Meeples on the ground, which was a good experience. But yeah, it was very weird from, like I said before, going from a pandemic mindset to going to, hey, let's get ready for a convention season, which was just kind of odd. But it went well at both conventions, and it was a safe environment, and everyone was on top of making sure that they stayed safe and that everyone was having a great time at the same time while we could all get together and play board games. And I also wouldn't say there would be any cons to going to conventions, just that, you take into consideration of the convention and what they're doing to keep everybody safe. Gen Con was pretty proactive about it, whether it was about the pandemic or problematic people at the convention. And then also at S'mores and Meeples, it was pretty much it was outdoor space, a lot of outdoor space, so there was a lot of flexibility with masks, and it was but when you were in the so-called convention center, it was a lot smaller than Gen Con, that you had to have a mask on, which was nice for everyone that was in the convention center playing games, which was it was a lot of fun, and we really enjoyed the smaller conventions more some people just because we got to play with more people and you got to see those people repetitively, and it's not like Gen Con where you're going around and maybe you'll play a demo with somebody or play a game with somebody and maybe see them again in the convention, or maybe just be like passing by, waving, and saying hi. So, especially when we saw people that we haven't seen in a while, that was kind of like a big shock factor. If those that haven't gone to conventions yet, when you go and you see someone you haven't seen for a long time, maybe an industry friend or someone that you do a lot of gaming when you're at conventions with, and you see them for the first time, for me it was like 2 years for some of these people, and I was just kind of like in a wow shock factor because I was like, wow, you're really here, and we can actually play a game and have a conversation, and it's not over technology. So you're there, I'm here, and it was a definitely an experience to have that kind of interaction with someone after so long and in person. And also, I wouldn't really say there was any too many negative interactions. There were a few things that happened behind the scenes that I heard about on social media from Gen Con at Gen Con 2021, but those were pretty, hush hush as long as you didn't go on social media. I mean, unless you were there when the incident happened or a problem occurred. But for the most part, it was pretty well controlled from, I guess, my perspective and my opinion. I think Gen Con did a pretty bang up job with keeping people safe and keeping on people and making sure that everyone that went to Gen Con was safe. S'mores and Meeples, that was just a very small convention. There was no problems there, other than maybe some rambunctious, not even attendees, people that kind of stumbled into the area, which was kind of like, okay, well, you just kick them out because they're not even supposed to be here anyways. So after being at a couple conventions, would I recommend other people to go to conventions? Well, that would just be on your, how safe you feel going to conventions right now. There's a whole lot of, conversation about that, and you just decide what's safest for you. If you feel comfortable going to conventions, start small. If you feel like going right back into it, slow down. But just go with how comfortable you feel. Conventions aren't going anywhere. We'll eventually get to the new normal, whatever that may turn out to be. But conventions are happening, and don't get stuck into the FOMO where you have to go to convention. There's a lot of people, even when COVID wasn't a thing, people just didn't care for conventions. They were just a time to buy things. And depending on where you live, whether it's in the USA or another country, sometimes those games that are printed in that country or that area aren't really available to you. And so, you gotta, figure it out. But yeah, with going to conventions, um, it was a very great experience. I'm very grateful and so thankful that we got there and we were safe the entire time and that nothing crazy happened. But, I just, we got our two conventions and really that's all we really planned on. I don't think we plan on doing any more conventions in 2021. And I think it's really gearing up for 2022 is when we're going to be more comfortable and feel safe going back to even more conventions. And honestly, the other thing that kind of hemmed us up is time. A lot of conventions had to switch around their time frames, and that happened to where usually it's a lot of them were in the summer, not all of them, but most of them were in the summertime. So, like for me personally, I could get a lot of time off during the summer, and then like June to August time frame. But since of everything was shifting into like September, October, I really had to, pick conventions that I wanted to go to that I usually could go to. But yeah, go to conventions if you want to. If you can't, they're going to be there next year, and don't worry about it. So right now, I'm going to show you a little bit of the haul I got, and some of these games are actually a Kickstarter that showed up, which is 6 small peg games, and other of these games are games that we picked up throughout our 2 conventions that we've been to so far. Again, not a flex. This is just, what sometimes is a good thing not to go to conventions for is because you pick up a lot of games. And we actually didn't pick up that many games at Gen Con, but we picked up quite a bit of games at S'mores and Meeples because it was more of swaps and exchanges and selling games, and you can buy games, so the vicious cycle will always continue. But let's go ahead and just show you real quick of kind of like our haul per se. So let's look at that real quick. So yeah, that's our haul. Some of the stuff came from a Kickstarter that we got back, and we found a package. We're like, oh, what's this? Oh, this is one of the Kickstarters that we kind of backed and forgot about. But but yeah, this is just a bunch of more games that we have to stick in and into our collection and just figure out how we're gonna find the time to play them and who to play with, which is a good problem to have. But at the same time, it's just more space and that's gonna be kind of sucked up. But yeah, we're really excited about getting these games to the table, and some of them we knew more about, and some of them were just kind of like, well, we don't have a lot of time to look at them, and so we just picked them up, and some of them were through helping other publishers at conventions, which was pretty cool and one of the benefits. If you ever want to go to a convention and you kind of don't want to pay for everything, sometimes there'll be companies that will say, hey, if you work with us, we'll give you a little bit of time, depending on which publisher you work with and which company you work with. They'll give you time to go run around and kind of spend, and also usually sometimes they'll give you a hotel room, but then depending on if you're working with a specific publisher, you'll actually get some swag from them, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it was a little bit about our con adventures, and in wrap up, it was a lot of fun. We were really appreciative of the experience of going back to conventions. It was a great experience. We really enjoyed it. And at Gen Con, we had Island Noodles, which was freaking awesome. But for 2021, I'm pretty sure it might change, but that's it for us. That's the only conventions that we're actually going to be going to. Now, we are excited for a few others that are actually be starting in 2022. We're sad to miss out on some during 2021, and again, things could change, and I could be heading off to other conventions later this year because I want to cover more conventions, which is the main purpose of this channel, and talk to more people and do more vlogs because I love doing vlogs and playing games and vlogging those games, which is awesome. So I can show you all more and more games that you could be interested in or not interested in, but at least you know a little bit more about it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this short vlog of just talking about conventions. I'll leave it in the comments of what conventions that you usually go to, you miss out on, unfortunately, if you're comfortable going back to conventions, and if you are going to conventions and they haven't happened yet, what conventions those are. I'm really excited to interact with you guys in the comments. But yeah, leave it in the comments. Say something. It's going to be awesome. Alright, well, I'll talk to you guys later and see you in the next vlog. Toodles! Oh, wait. I want to go ahead and ask Sarah what she thought about the past two conventions that we were recently at. Wait, she's working. Okay, alright. Sarah, what did you think about the recent conventions?
So we've been to two recently. We were at Gen Con a few weeks ago, and then we were at S'mores and Meeples this past weekend, I think. Um, so Gen Con was great. It was a little bit different this year than normal. I feel like it was really smooth. It was a really smooth experience, especially for Gen Con. And then also for being the first convention that I've personally been back to in like 18 months. It just went so much more smoothly than I could have ever hoped for, which was really, really nice because it was Gen Con, so it could have been this huge, monstrous beast, but it wasn't. And also because it was the first convention that I had been back to in over a year and a half, it was nice that it was just a smooth, pleasant sort of experience. Um, it was a little odd. It didn't feel like a normal Gen Con, but it was actually really nice. It had a more laid back feel to it. Didn't feel like there was as much pressure on attendees to see and do every single thing that they wanted to, in a tight, tight schedule. And I think that might have been because there just wasn't quite as much to see and do there this year. There weren't quite as many exhibitors. The exhibit hall was a little bit more spread out, which that in and of itself was really nice to have more room to move around in there and not to feel jammed up on top of people just in general. And then while a pandemic was raging or is raging, my championship game. So what I was doing at Gen Con was hosting 10 US national championship games. And they were really well attended, which was nice. That was another pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting to have as many attendees participate in the championship games this year. So it was really nice to see full tables at those events. Um, and all of my players were pleasant people. Everybody was just there to have a good time. Sometimes with such a high level event, that is not always the case. Sometimes people are very serious. Sometimes people are very intense about the experience. And so sometimes it's not always a nice, pleasant experience for me as the person hosting that and responsible for it. I just have to deal with people who are a little bit more intense, a little bit more, unforgiving. So for me this year, it was really, really nice to have just kind of like a more pleasant vibe all the way around. Um, so yeah, I think the for me personally at Gen Con, it was a little disappointing not to have as much exhibitor content in the exhibit hall. There's usually more to look at, more to experience in the exhibit hall, and more stuff that I'm just generally interested in purchasing. And there wasn't quite as much this year as usual. But there was some space for people who I don't think have gotten to be there in the past, because bigger publishers or more well known companies get that space instead. And this year, because not all of those folks were there, um, then it made room for all of these like smaller, lesser known companies, and it meant that there were new and interesting things to see that I hadn't seen at Gen Con before. I think one of the coolest examples of that was that there was a potter there who was selling a bunch of handmade goods, including geeky mugs and like bit bowls and stuff like that that they had handcrafted. Gorgeous, gorgeous craftsmanship, really nice stuff. And I fully understand the cost. If it would have been just a little bit cheaper, I would have brought home a set of mugs or something like that, but it was just a little bit out of my price range for what it was. Although I fully understand how much it was going for because I know that they put in a lot of manual labor and a lot of hard work and a lot of skill to produce those products and stuff like that. So I fully understand the price. Um, but anyway, so that was Gen Con. Um, then, like I said, we also went to S'mores and Meeples. S'mores and Meeples is a convention that I adore. I absolutely love S'mores and Meeples. It is a little tiny convention in West Chester, Pennsylvania, and it's held in the fall at a KOA campground. And so we go and we camp, and then we also attend this convention. And I just absolutely love it. It's one of the most fun experiences that I have all year long. I look forward to it every year, all year, because I really enjoy camping. I really enjoy going to gaming conventions, and to get to do those two things at the same time is just this crazy fun experience that I really, really enjoy. It's well run, it's well organized. Everybody there is really nice, and it's just all around this very pleasant, fun, relaxing convention experience that's unlike any other that I've ever had. Um, so I always love going to S'mores and Meeples. This year it felt a little bit rushed. We had to travel in all day on Friday and then travel back on Sunday. So we really only had a little bit of time at the convention. And I wish we would have had more time just because I enjoy that one so much. It would have been nice to have more time to get to camp and more time to get to be at the convention. But the convention organizer is also feeling like they would like to have more out of the weekend, so they are looking at an extended version of the convention for next year, which would make it, it would take it from a 3 day show to a 4 day show. And if they do that, then I would like to try to make it in like the day before it starts, and stay an extra day or two so that we can fully experience the whole thing without feeling as rushed. And then we get to camp for a little bit longer too. So
Yeah.
yeah. So we got to take a bunch of pre-loved games from our collection that we were going to cycle out of our collection. We took a bunch of those with us, and we participated in two events with those. We did an auction, where we made a few $100, which was really, really nice. And then we took what was left from the auction, what nobody was interested in purchasing at the auction, and we used those to trade in a second event that they have where it's a big, huge game swap. And we traded away the rest of our copies there, and we brought home, I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 dozen new to us
Yeah, I showed
games.
him all the goodies.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, so we brought home all of those, which is always fun. It's always nice to say like, okay, if I'm done with this game, then it's really nice to be like, okay, well, maybe you could enjoy this game and I can get something different that I'm not, familiar with, or something that I've always wanted to try, or that kind of thing. So I really like doing the swaps. And it was nice to get to just kind of pick up whatever we sort of wanted, whatever we were sort of interested in, without incurring any financial cost to ourselves. So that was super nice. And yeah, all in, it was a great, slow, um, no pressure sort of restart to conventions. Before the pandemic, I was doing about, on average, I was probably doing about one a month all year long for work. And that all came to a screeching halt. I was actually on a like circuit when the pandemic hit the U.S. I had been traveling from like a trade show to a convention to another industry event sort of thing, and I've been just kind of like hitting all of these events. And I was on the West Coast when the pandemic hit the U.S. Thankfully, we were wrapping up our little tour, so I was flying back as it was coming into the U.S. But everything, was like normal, 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 and then screeching halt. Um, so we're back to the new normal, I guess. And it was really, really pleasant to have these two conventions be as smooth and as laid back and as relaxed and as fun, and as no pressure as they kind of were. So yeah.
Cool. So that's us from Meeples on the Ground HQ, and we will see you all on the next video. I promise. This is it. See y'all. Toodle.